What's up, everyone? This is Christian Duke. You're watching Strength Addicts on IG Live, brought to you courtesy of BlackstoneLabs.com and TitanMedicalCenter.com. Tonight we have IFBB Wellness Pro DEVYN CAMBRE joining us. It's going to be a great interview, guys. My very, very first Wellness Pro interview. And I am a little bit late to the big dance. Totally my fault. I was doing another interview and the phones but DEVYN is such a trooper. She actually was the first competitor that was tagging my Wellness Competitors page, and she tags every single day. Her content is fire. She loves what she does. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do the Instagram live tonight, and then next week we're going to schedule a Zoom interview, which is going to be a lot more in-depth. And we're going to really, really talk about wellness and why she competes in wellness. Because, guys, this is going to be the biggest division that has ever hit the fitness industry. I know that a lot of you guys remember when Bikini hit. And I know a lot of you guys remember that it spread like wildfire. But I got to tell you something. Wellness will be bigger than Bikini. Wellness is going to be huge. And it already is huge in Brazil. It is already huge throughout Latin America, and it is already huge in Europe. So it isn't like we're speculating. We're not saying, well, it looks to be big. It's going to be big. It is already proven itself in various different markets. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic. PJ Braun, President and CEO of BlackstoneLabs.com, our title sponsor, absolutely loves wellness. Absolutely. And so much so that Blackstone Labs is sponsoring the wellness division at the upcoming 2021 Ivy Pro League Pittsburgh Pro and MPC Pittsburgh Championships. So that is huge. Our supporting sponsor, TitanMedicalCenter.com, is a huge hit with the wellness ladies and all throughout South Florida. Guys, if you've never been to South Florida, you don't know what you're missing. South Florida is like the gateway to Latin America, the gateway to the world, and wellness is huge there as well. So we're going to wait for DEVYN to join. I did tell her that I was coming on here a little bit. So a few things to talk about also while we wait for her to come in. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. The Wellness Competitors page, if you're not following that, definitely get on over there. It is really picking up, and a lot of ladies are tagging the page on their stories and their posts, and I really appreciate that. We're going to bring DEVYN on, and like I said, next interview, and that's going to be a lot more in depth, but this will be a fun little treat, a little preview. What's up?
Hey.
Thank you so much for humoring me with my tardiness, because I was like, I'm always late, always.
No, it's good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I was telling everybody that when I started the Wellness Competitors page, I think you were like the first competitor really that was just tagging like crazy, but your content is so good, DEVYN. You really love this. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure that out. You really, truly love this. In fact, I even asked you, like, what's a hobby that you like to do? And you're like, this is my hobby. This is my life.
Yeah, pretty much.
So how did you get started competing? Because I know you've been competing for a little bit, and wellness is pretty much new here. So where did you get started? When and where?
So I started in 2014 as a bikini competitor. I did one show, I think, that year. And the next year I came back and did like a full season, 4 shows. But I was always not, I guess, 100%. First of all, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of winging it for a lot of the things. I remember my first show, I didn't know there was such thing as like a show tanner, makeup artist, hair artist. I didn't know any of that. I got a tan the day before at some tanning salon, and then drove to the show, and I used that to go on stage. It was crazy. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. I saw people on, social media, and they were doing it. I needed some kind of outlet. Since I was in college, I wasn't really doing any kind of physical fitness activity, sports anymore. And, bodybuilding just kind of stuck with me as like something that looked interesting. So I went with it, but I had no clue what was going on. And eventually I did start hiring coaches that knew what they were doing and gave me a little bit more guidance. But I don't know, I was never really like 100% into it. And it wasn't until last year where I just came full force. Wellness was definitely made for me. I always got that feedback that you are too bottom heavy for every one of my shows. So whenever they came out with this, I was like, this is where I need to be. And so last year I went 100% into it, and it definitely paid off.
Well, I mean, your structure is perfect for wellness. And it's like, there's wellness competitors that I look at, and I know you said you got started in bikini. I would say that a lot of wellness competitors will come from bikini. A lot will come from figure as well. A lot will be totally new. They will have never competed in any other division because, I think structurally it's very, very hard for a girl that's perfect for fitness, or perfect for bikini, or there's certain ladies that have structures that are meant specifically for a division, and your division didn't exist when you got started. So I think that's why I think we're going to see like just a whole new realm of competitors. A lot of people are thinking, well, where are they going to come from? What division? They may not come from any. They may be totally new to the whole scene, like volleyball players,
Yeah.
some soccer players, ladies with, and see, that's the big thing. I'll be quiet here in a second, but that's the big thing that people didn't understand initially about wellness. They thought it was softer. It isn't
No.
softer. It's a bigger quad, bigger leg division that's not necessarily as ripped as women's physique or women's bodybuilding, but there are ladies that come from very athletic backgrounds. And that's what I don't think people understood initially.
No, exactly. And you started seeing it last year, people get on stage just who were just thicker girls. But you can definitely tell the difference between someone who has that muscle built underneath and people who don't. I mean, before, like I said, from high school and, before that, I was a competitive cheerleader, competitive dancer. My legs were always built for that. So I think, yeah, you're right. We're definitely going to see some athletes come in and we're going to see people from like even power lifters. We have definitely a bunch of girls who were power lifters and they just have that muscle that is not going to go anywhere. And it's just good that they're finally embracing this division, that we can have somewhere where people who didn't fit in one way or the other can now fit in. Because I had that choice. I was either work my legs down as much as I can, which pretty much I had to stop working them out, do a lot of cardio, or I could work up to figure, and figure just wasn't for me. I knew that early on. I had one of my coaches or two of my coaches before say, you can move up to figure. And I was like, I don't want to do figure. Like, that's not what I want my body to look like. So.
Right. And even if you moved up to figure, I mean, you'd be able to have more muscle, but your legs you would still be bottom dominant, you know what I mean? And they would still maybe score you down for that. And then if your upper body matched your lower body, well, then you wouldn't be figure, you'd probably be women's physique, and it still wouldn't be the physique you wanted. So I really think that, wellness was a long time coming. And like I was saying before you came on, it isn't really speculative with regards to how successful it'll be, because we have Brazil, we have Latin America, we have Europe, where it's like bigger than sliced bread. I mean, when bikini first hit, Devin, it spread like wildfire. I think wellness is going to spread even more so than bikini did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they were saying at the last national show that they had more wellness competitors than they did figure competitors. So already it's definitely picking up speed. I think it's just because you're opening up yourself to a whole new group of people who didn't fit in, and now they finally see a place for them. So a lot of people are going to come try it out. Or like we were saying before, they have bikini girls, even bikini pros, who are still getting feedback that they're too bottom heavy. And so they're going to want to switch. They're going to want to, move up to this because they probably didn't want to go to figure either. But they just couldn't get their legs down. So now they have a place where they can come in. And it's definitely, I think, especially in our society, it's one of those looks that people want, They want those big glutes and those bigger legs with not so much of a upper body fullness or muscularity to it. So
Right.
it's attractive.
No, it's very attractive. And the thing is, there are ladies that, there are certain ethnicities that have a little bit of an edge. I mean, honestly, they, like Spanish girls, A lot of African American girls, they have a little bit of an edge with the bigger hips, and it just is what it is. And those that don't, they have to work their butts off to get there. But I think what's going to happen is, for as big, like when bikini first got started, you had some ladies up there that really didn't belong up there, and they weeded them out after a while. With wellness, though, because wellness really isn't a new division. It may be new in America, but it isn't really a new division anywhere else. I feel like, a lot of ladies are going to, and it's messed up, but their dreams are going to be shattered because they're going to think they can just get up there and be a wellness competitor, and they can't. They've got to work their way up to it. And with bikini, there's certain ways where you can pose and you're almost like bent over, which the judges hate, but you see it because if you don't have glutes, you could at least try to protect. You can't do that in wellness. You either have the look or you don't. So it's like, unless you come ready, you're just going to you're not going to even get looked at, I don't think.
Right. And especially because wellness, you have quarter turns. So, bikini, you have two poses. You have a front and a back pose. So you can kind of hide things that way. But with wellness, you have to show your entire self all four ways around. And so it's a lot less area for you to hide things. And like you're saying before, you're right. Like, you either have the muscle there or you don't. And so it's definitely going to be something that needs to work. But I really hope that it's more motivating. I really hope it doesn't discourage too many people, because if it's something you really want to do, then you just put in the work for it.
Right.
I've like I said, I've been doing competition team, and I wasn't 100% when I started, but I at least put work in. I at least accepted feedback, and last year I knew 100%, like, this is what I wanted for my life. This is what I wanted to do. I had a renewed passion for it. And so I went all in with it. And, I didn't always get the results that I wanted from shows. I got feedback that, wasn't exactly stuff that I was ready to hear, I guess you can say. And it kind of did, like, hurt my heart a little bit whenever I heard things. But for me, I'm the type of person who's just like, okay, I'm going to take that feedback and I'm going to make it better. I'm going to make sure the next time I step on stage, I don't hear that same thing from you. That's the way I work. And I think if you're going into this sport, I think that's the kind of attitude you have to have, because it gets to be a subjective sport in some cases. They do have criteria, but in all instances, like, the judges are subjective on, like, where they put people or how they place people, because people have different opinions on things, and you definitely have to have a thick skin for it. So if that's not you, then you're just not going to do well in this sport. So you have to have that kind of mentality whenever you're going into competition.
No, 100% agree. And you are an IFBB pro also, which is a huge achievement. And you could be on the Olympia stage. Wellness will be there, and and I expect to see you there. But like you said, you have to have thick skin. You have to be ready for some pretty. It'll always be constructive. Judges will never tear you down, but they like, in a hateful way. But they can say, especially if you get judges' feedback, which I think all competitors should get, because I think if you and nothing against coaches, I love coaches, but if you go to a coach expecting them to know what the judges want, you're taking a gamble when you could just ask the judges, what do you want? And they will tell you. And so I think between that and working with a coach and really sticking to the plan, and like you said, if a lady isn't ready, it shouldn't be like, wellness is not for you, but it should be motivating. Get to that point. You can, a lot of the content that you tag the Wellness Competitors page, Wellness Competitors that I run, is really, truly, it's hardcore training, but it's also smart training. You're not doing anything stupid, which is terrible to say stupid, but you're not. You're training very smart, very sensibly, but it's also very hardcore. You're doing leg presses, you're doing squats, you're training with iron. You know what I mean? You're not a cardio bunny, and I don't think a cardio bunny can get the wellness look either.
No, definitely, absolutely not. You see how how the wellness division is in these other countries, and the amount of muscle these girls have, and these girls have been training for years like that, and they don't do cardio. I mean, if they do, it's whenever they're cutting. And that's the same for me. Like, I don't do cardio in my off season because that's the time where I'm trying to build. And yes, in order to build muscle, you have to use heavy muscles. You have to use that time under tension. That's how you build muscle. And so, and you also have to eat. That's the other thing, is that you have to eat in order to build this muscle. And a lot of girls, I think, are scared of that. They're scared to lift heavy. They're scared to like eat high calorie days and stuff. But that's what's required, I mean, for this division. And I mean, I know you're talking about it before, but this is definitely like a learning experience for everybody. I mean, it's like you said, it's new here. So we're still trying to figure out exactly where wellness is going for America. You can see just in a year's time when we have it, how things have changed, what the judges are looking for. And that's something that I definitely take seriously. I'm always, watching things, even shows that I'm not in, I watch. I ask for what, like, friends of mine that are competing or other competitors, what maybe their feedback was, just because I want to get the right direction for myself, for other people that, may ask me for advice, because it's new and everybody is still trying to exactly find out where exactly we're going with this. I mean, I know they say we have our standards, but that's somebody's standard for their body. Your body is going to be different. You don't want your body to look exactly like somebody else. It's not going to happen. You put on the same amount of muscle on your frame as someone who's 2 inches taller than you, it's going to look completely different. So
True.
Yeah, you have to take the guidelines, but then you apply it to your frame. And that's what I do. You can look at all of my shows from last year. I don't have a single show that looks, I never bought the same package to any show last year. It was completely different. And that's because I listened to what the judges told me. And, they said to change this, and that's what I did. And I brought a different package because I don't want to hear the same things. I don't want to hear the same feedback. I want to hear, okay, you did what we told you. You listened. Good job. Now work on X, Y, or Z.
Right. And I think that's such good advice too, because even, there's so many NPC posing seminars out there also. A lot of them are free. Some of them are a nominal fee. I mean, go to those too, you know what I mean? And go to npcnewsonline.com. And I mean, that's like the holy grail of NPC and Ivy Pro League coverage. Watch the videos. I mean, like, I think, being in media, I see this, but like the people that are really successful, they treat this almost like a job in a way. You know what I mean? They do their research, they do their homework. As you said, they listen to what the judges say and they try to implement that. And, even if you don't get to what they're expecting just by trying, I think that shows them that you want it. I mean, as opposed to just bringing the same package over and over and over and hoping at some point you'll win. That's not growing as an athlete. I don't think that's just, just doing what you want to do.
No, and that's exactly it. Is that, I mean, if you're not placing where you want to place, there's a reason why. And usually the judges will give you some kind of guidance. Now there is those times where somebody just outbeats you, that you did nothing wrong. There's really not anything specific that you need to change, but you just got outbeat. And that's another hard lesson you have to learn in this sport, right? Is that sometimes your best look and somebody else's best look, theirs is going to be better than yours. Mm-hmm. And you have to accept that and just be willing to be like, okay, fine, on to the next,
Yeah. And I hate to quote Bob Ciccarello, but he's right. I mean, physique-based sports are really a sport of apples and oranges. Let's say that you're the best apple possible. You're a perfect apple. If you're looking for an orange, you're not going to win. I mean, that's just the nature of it, And like you said, and other times you might get outworked, or you might, somebody might look a little bit better. You just have to, and I also think that it, taking a tough defeat, or a tough placing, and by that I don't mean second or third. I mean just getting a bad placing just every once in a while isn't the worst thing either, because I think it really builds character and it prepares you. If all you've ever experienced is success, God forbid you should ever fail, because we may never see you again. You might just never come back to the stage.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about this before. I think my local show, I got third. And I even said that I wasn't really even that upset about it, because I took that as like, my intentions last year, I 100% knew I was going to nationals. So I did my local show so I can qualify. I came in third, and I actually was just like, okay, that humbled me to the fact of where I said, I'm not quite ready for nationals, so I need to work harder. Because honestly, if I would have placed first, I might have been like, okay, everything's perfect. I'm ready to go. Let's just, keep doing what I'm doing and we're going to hop on stage. And now looking back at it, I'm like, I was nowhere near ready for nationals at my local show. So I was actually grateful that, probably that I didn't win that show, because it made me work harder. It made me change a lot of things with my diet, with my training. Um, me and my coach had a game plan going into it. Now, did we overshoot it? Absolutely. You look at my first national show and we definitely overshot that goal, because I was super lean and I was hard. I had a lot of muscularity when I went to it. But that's okay. I mean, I was okay because I was content with where I was going into that show. Now looking back on it and getting judges' feedback, they're like, "Whoa, you need to pull it back, bring your upper body down, soften up a little bit," and that's what I did moving forward. But at least you can see that I went from point A to point B and definitely kicked it up like times 10, because
Definitely.
I knew I wasn't where I needed to be.
And what's interesting too is that, even folks that win the show, they can also go and get judges' feedback. Just because you win the show doesn't mean you're perfect. You're better than everybody else, but you're not perfect. So, but I think, yeah, but overshooting a show, I mean, that's a good problem to have. Like being, bringing more to the table than is needed that's a great, great place to be. But I also think, like what you said earlier, I think has so much truth to it too, is that if you want to compete in wellness, you have to eat for wellness. And
Yeah.
you're right. I don't know. Like over all the interviews I've done, for some reason, some ladies just, they can do the training, and Lord knows they can, do the sacrifice, peak week and prep and all that, but they don't like to really, eat enough. And it's like, you can't build any kind of a physique if you don't eat enough.
I mean, and I think that's just hard for, I guess, women in general. Where we don't like to see ourselves thick, especially if we're someone who's been doing this and we are used to seeing our body lean. I mean, maybe it's not just women. I know men get it too, but we tend to just want to be more petite. We don't want to have that thickness to us. And you think if you eat, you're going to get fat. I mean, I have people that I train, and the second like I send them their diets and they see how much food I'm giving them, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna get fat." And I'm like, "No, you're not, because the training I'm giving you is gonna help you to build muscle. You're not building fat, and I'm giving you good food." And that's the difference. You eat, 2,500 calories of a whole bunch of sweets and processed foods. Yes, you're gonna get fat. But if you're eating wholesome foods, good stuff, and you're training to match it, then you're gonna build muscle.
Right.
Um, so it's all about following a plan. And sometimes people just aren't experienced enough with it to understand that. Um, but it's a learning process. I mean, and they'll learn. If they go through their first off season, they don't eat enough and they come back the next year and they look exactly the same. They'll learn
Yeah.
that next time they need to eat.
And it's interesting too, because I know that there's a camp out there that says, a calorie is a calorie, whether it's a calorie of Snickers bar or it's a calorie of chicken breast. And that's true. But, if you eat good food, you're going to be satiated. You're going to be full. You're not going to go to sleep hungry. You're not going to be lethargic. So there's a big difference. While a calorie is a calorie, how the body responds, I think, is totally different. And I don't think that anybody really can argue that point. And I think you made it perfectly clear that you can eat 2,500 calories of really good food and actually put on muscle and not get fat and feel great. But like you said, some of it is kind of like, they have to learn, on their own. It's almost like, you can tell a little kid so many times, God forbid, please don't touch the stove, you're gonna get burned. But sometimes it takes just a little tiny burn just to kind of get it. You know what I mean? And next week, as I said before you came on, I want to schedule a Zoom interview where we just go really in depth, because we're covering a lot of bases here, and I really want to pick your brain, because I think you have a lot to say. I can't figure out where your accent is from, Devin, though. I'm really trying. It sounds Southern at times. Sometimes it sounds like maybe like Texan or something. I don't know. Where are you from?
Well, originally I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay.
But I did spend a good bit of my adult life in Baton Rouge, so they do have a little bit of a different accent. And also, where I currently live is right outside of Louisiana, and they have their own their own accent. So I have like a mix of a whole bunch of different places. So every now and then you'll catch different things coming out, but it's definitely South. Yeah, I've stayed in this
Definitely,
my whole
definitely.
life.
And you told me that you're like a coffee addict. Is that right?
Absolutely. You can ask anyone who knows me, everybody at work, they know I drink entirely too much coffee. Um, and yeah, it's bad. It's actually getting to the point where I probably need a chill. But they know whenever my time comes, once I'm low, they're like, Devin needs coffee.
Right. Is it like just like plain black coffee, or is it Starbucks? Do you like a lot of like add like a lot of like what do they call that? Like extras like whipped cream or sugar-free stuff or what?
No, 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 no. In season when I'm in prep, it's black coffee. There's a little place right where I live called the Coffee House, and they have the best cold brew in the whole entire world. I dare somebody to beat them because I've been trying and I
That's
can't
awesome.
find it. But no,
That's awesome.
those little coffee shops have like way better coffee than these chains. Sorry, but
Yeah. No, you're right. And it's crazy because like a lot of people think cold brew, they make the mistake of thinking cold brew is iced coffee. It's not. It's like way more caffeinated than iced coffee, like way more.
yes, definitely.
And so when you're in the gym, the last question about your training, and we're not going to go too long on this one because like again I want to save it for Instagram. What am I saying? I'm going to save it for Zoom. Wrong format. And that one goes to podcast too. And that one I won't be late for. I promise I won't be late for that one. But yeah, I mean you like so the wellness competitors page. It's starting out small. I don't buy followers. I know you don't buy followers. Everything grows on its own when it's good, but like I really am impressed with the content. Like you have so many different, and maybe it's because you're a pro, but you have so many different stuff. You have like model shots, you have training shots, you put out content that's like thought provoking, you put out content that's nuts and bolts training. I mean, maybe like talk just a little bit about like how you view your page, because your page is really really good, and I feel like it's got something for everybody.
Um, I actually just started kind of, amping up my page on social media. I wasn't really big on it,
Hmm.
um, except for, I mean, you could see definitely the shift. Whenever I was pregnant and I had my son, of course, everything was about him. That's all I ever posted was just pictures of him all the time. But then when I got back into competing again, I decided to kind of like keep him off of social media just because, people kind of get weird sometimes. So if you scroll way, way back on my social media, you'll see like the old stuff of when my son was younger. But I got back into competing and I just decided that I wanted to get more focus on the fitness side of it. I am actually a certified personal trainer, but I don't do training like in person because of my job. My job is very inconsistent whenever it comes to scheduling. I work way too many hours to be able to, commit to a schedule with people in person. So I figured I would just try to find ways to connect with people on a fitness level through my social media, and that's showing what I do with my training. Um, I do post like model shots and stuff. I do post my transformation because I went back to competing before my son turned a year old, or that's when I went back to doing prep. I got on stage at 18 months postpartum. So I think I just want to be that kind of motivation for people, especially, moms, because they need to see that it's possible to get to this point if that's where you want to be. And even if you don't want to get to competing, you can get your body back. It's definitely something that a lot of moms struggle with, is finding themselves again, getting their pre-baby weight. And it wasn't a super easy road for me either, but it's something that I went through. It's something I experienced. And I think it's something that I can share with people who are in that same situation. Because not everybody bounces back right away.
Yeah.
I consider, you know, 18 months to be pretty good coming back. I mean, I have friends that have been struggling with getting back to their pre-baby weight for years. And I think that's just something that I want to do. I want to just be, I guess a motivation for people.
I think that's huge. Yeah. And, 18 months is not that long, and it's very hard. And I think a lot of guys, I think, are a lot more educated and a lot more aware. But for women, first off, for women, it's very hard to lose weight, to gain muscle, all those things because of the hormonal differences between men and women. But especially the baby weight after pregnancy, especially if it's the first child, it's very, very tough. And I think that, especially to even surpass the pre-pregnancy look and say, look, I can get on stage, I can compete, And what I love about you is that you're a mom, you're a career professional, you're a competitor, you've got all these different facets of your life, and you're able to do them all, and you're able to do them all really well. But it's all about, I mean, I don't think that you just like woke up one day and did this. It takes time. It's a process. But once you're like, once you're hitting your stride, you can do everything. Like there's plenty of time in a day to do it, but I just think like initially, I think you could be great motivating for that. You know what I mean? Because I would imagine, like, I'm not a woman, but I've never given birth, but I could imagine where, a lot of ladies might just be like, that ship has sailed. I'll never look like I did before, and that's not a good mental place to be.
No, no. And
So,
it definitely, I mean, that's something I definitely went through. I mean, it took me a year before I even really was able to get back into the gym after I had my son. So, and I had the same thoughts. I was just like, I gained 70 pounds during pregnancy. And for a 5 foot nothing person, that's a whole lot of weight. And it was discouraging. I'm like, I'm never going to get this off. I'm never going to look like I did before. And then I guess just after a year of going through that, I just changed the way I thought. I was just like, no, I'm going to go back.
and I want to talk more about that on the Zoom interview also, because like, I really feel like that could be like a 10-minute conversation. But like, I feel like, I mean, again, I'm not a woman, and I'm not saying that to be funny, but I'm not a woman. But I would imagine, like, as a woman, when you're pregnant, your child is like the center of your universe. And if you're hungry, you're going to eat. And if you gain the weight, so what? It's all about that baby, So I know that some ladies, when they're pregnant, really don't gain a lot of weight, and maybe that's metabolism, or maybe it's because they're watching what they eat. But I would think during a pregnancy, like, the weight, the scale, all that stuff, to me, I think that would be like meaningless. It would be all about your health and the baby's health, and everything else can just, you know what I mean? I think, I don't know.
I mean, I think everybody's different. Some people it's genetic, how much they gain, and some people just, I'll admit, I didn't care what I ate. I got to the point, I tried in the beginning, and then after a while, when the weight just kept coming, I was just like, it's coming no matter what. I'm just going to eat.
Yeah. And it's hormonal. Like, your hormones are all over the place, I would imagine, and I think that's why they say, like, these weird cravings also are part of that. Like, so yeah. But again, I really, and I didn't really scroll far back into your Instagram, but like, I just see like the recent stuff, and like I said, it's just really cutting edge. The model shots are crazy, and like, but I think it's really cool what you're doing, and I think, like, I really like that you have, there's more that you want to do. There's nothing wrong with just competing or just doing model shots, but the fact that you want to motivate. I always like when folks have, a message, because honestly, you've got the physique, you've got the pro card, you have the ability to, like, do more, and you're doing it. And I think that's great.
Yeah. And that was always a plan. I'm in this sport for more than just, a placing. I started this whole journey for a lot more personal reasons. And so whether the stage is there or not, I'm still going to be doing what I'm doing in one way.
Absolutely. So we're gonna do the Zoom next week. We got to figure out, because I want to keep going and I want to go the full hour. But the thing about it, Instagram is fantastic for Instagram, but Zoom is fantastic. We could put it on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, all that fun stuff. Whereas I think Instagram's a little limited in that way. But let's pick up next week. We'll do our Zoom interview. We'll really get in depth. I can't thank you enough for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. And I think people are going to get so much out of the Zoom interview. And I could see you, honestly, Devin, really, I could see you doing ebooks. I could see you doing motivational speaking. I could see you doing a million things running parallel to you competing on stage. And I think that's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's all hopefully in the future for me. Just to keep going with this and do whatever I can, just help other people.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, I want to thank you very, very much. We're going to do that Zoom interview next week. We're going to schedule it. It's going to be fantastic. For IFBB Wellness Pro, Devyn Cambrè, Christian Duke, StrengthAddicts.com. Devin, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.